easier if I come in on the second one.
No, come in with me. We do it with the higher chair out of the.
So that works, right?
How do you mute on WebEx?
Good morning, everyone. It's 11:30, which is our start time for this morning's meeting. We're still waiting for a few committee members to arrive, but in the meantime, I will go through our virtual meeting procedures and policies, just to get those out of the way and make sure everybody is aware of them. So this is the February 15th meeting of the Ohio City Design Review Committee. The virtual meeting regulations and procedures. The meeting shall be conducted according to Robert's Rules of Order. Actions during the meeting will be taken by roll call vote. Recusal due to a conflict of interest should be stated for the record prior to the start of any presentation, and then the committee member will leave the meeting for the duration of the case discussion. No presentation submissions will be accepted after the deadline. The chair will call the meeting to order and ask for a roll call of the committee. The administrator will introduce the first project and provide some background information if applicable. And the meeting will then be turned over to the applicant to proceed through the presentation. Each presentation should be completed prior to questions and comments from the committee. Once the presentation is concluded, the administrator will read any received comments. The committee then will begin deliberations and project review. Please use the raised hand feature if you'd like to speak. After deliberations and review concludes, the committee will render its recommendation and vote. After the vote, the applicants may leave the meeting and the administrator will introduce the next project. All projects will follow the same format until all projects are heard by the committee. Once all projects are heard, the chair will call for any committee/administrator reports. After all reports have been heard, the chair will adjourn the meeting. Regarding community comments, any and all community members may provide their written comments, thoughts, or questions regarding projects presented to the committee for review and approval. Community members may also telephone their comments or questions to the committee administrator. All comments, thoughts, or questions must be submitted to the committee administrator no later than 48 hours before the start of the meeting. Public comment or submissions made after the deadline will not be heard by the committee. Public comment will be collected by Landmark staff and sent to the committee members for review prior to the scheduled meeting, and then staff will summarize the received comments during the meeting. The applicant of the project is under no obligation to answer any community questions. Community members are invited to attend the design review meetings, but there will be no open public comment period. As a reminder, we're evaluating these projects for their adherence to the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation, and these are being considered for the issuance of a certificate of appropriateness. All projects are considered on a case-by-case basis, and the Ohio City Design Review Advisory Committee is advisory to the Cleveland Landmarks Commission. Recommendations by this committee are not final actions. Depending on the scope of the project, submissions may be approved administratively or will need to be reviewed by the Cleveland Landmarks Commission. Projects will be scheduled at the next available commission meeting after an action is taken. So with that, like we have we'll need one more up there. Now we have a quorum. Margaret, would you mind acting as chair? I'm not sure that Doug is able to make it today.
I don't mind. I do need to leave at 1:30 for my next meeting. So I'm
Okay.
just wondering if somebody else should do it or if we make a transition if we're not done.
I think we can probably go ahead and get started. Hopefully we'll be done
Okay.
by 1:30. But if not, we can always, get someone else at then.
Sounds good.
So if you
Alright.
want to, call the meeting to order, then I'll do the roll call.
All right, I will call to order the February 15th meeting of the Ohio City Design Review.
All right, thank you, Ms. Flaherty. Mara, if you're there, yep, now we can hear you. Okay. All right, Mr. Frondorf? Ms. Lamb?
Here.
Ms. Marinucci?
Here.
Mr. Persons? Mr. Talley?
Here.
And okay, I'm sorry, jumping ahead, and Mr. Wall. All right, Madam Chair, we do have a quorum. Our first case today is case OC 23-66, 4003 Franklin Boulevard, siding replacement. This was tabled at our February 1st, 2024 meeting. And so, with it having been tabled once, we need to take an action on it today to move it along through the process. I believe we have Mr. Martinez here.
Yes.
So August, if you want to go ahead and walk us through your proposal, just let me know when you want me to advance the slides.
Yeah, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. Okay, so this is what it looks like now. And then there should be another slide showing the what it will look like if you keep going through. Keep going. No, keep going. They're probably at the end. There's all right, there's one. Keep going. Okay, so there's the front. So this is what the idea is to do on the front of the house. So basically what we're going to be doing is changing all the material on the front, at least a hardy board. So it's an I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Sorry, there's some background noise here. Let me go and mute.
Okay. So, like I was saying, this is going to be all hardy board. Everything on the front is going to be vertical. So we're going to be changing that. And then as you can see in the peaks up there, we're going to put shake. And then the color of the hardy board is going to be alabaster. And then there's a color chart that I put in here as well, so you can kind of see what that color is going to look like. So I think if you keep going, there's another slide that will have the color that will show you what the exterior of the house will look like. You keep going. So here, so that top picture, that color of the house is alabaster. So that's what the front will look like. That is what the color of all the hardy board is going to be. So then, and then below that color, natural linen. All of the siding on the remainder of the house is going to be natural linen. So only the front is going to be alabaster, which is that top color there. And then the remaining siding on the house, which will be vinyl, is going to be natural linen. So you can kind of see what those two would look like together. And then if you want to go back, oh, well, oh, okay, and I'll just explain this too while we're here. So she wants to go with a copper tone gutter color. So the gutter and downspouts will be this color here, which is copper penny, is what it's called. So that will go all the way around the house, all new gutters and downspouts. And then below it is going to be rustic timber. So the soffit on all the overhangs is going to be this color, as well as all the trim on the fascia board and gutter boards all the way around the entire house. So it'll be a mixture of, you know, two light colors, and then we're going to have a dark color that's going to contrast it, which will be going on all the overhangs. So then if you want to go back to the slides where we have, and then that's just the material and showing you what it is. Okay, so here, so yeah, so that's bottom here where everything is vertical is going to be alabaster. And then everywhere where there's shake is going to be that natural linen. So I think those two colors will contrast each other quite well. And then the above where you have your fascia here and then your overhangs where your soffit's going to go in, that's all going to be rustic timber. And then if you want to go to left, if you go left, I'll show you that left wall here. And I know you guys had a concern here. So what she wants to do here is on the right side of the chimney is still going to be hardy board continued with that alabaster color, which would go up to the chimney. And then it's from the street, you can't really see much of that back of the house. And then the chimney, she was originally going to do stone, but the cost was just so expensive that instead we're going to just continue that shake all the way up and down. So it'll contrast between the hardy and then the vinyl. So the chimney will be shake all the way up and down, and that'll be natural linen. And then we're going to be changing this wall here, which will be all horizontal siding, which pretty much most of the remainder of the house will be horizontal siding like she has now, but the color will be all natural linen. And then let's see here. If you go to the left again, if you keep going left, there's a couple things. So here, well, they're actually just, all right, so yeah, you could stay here. Okay, so the left wall of the garage here that you see, the larger wall, that'll be all horizontal, as well as this right part here where there's already horizontal, that'll stay. And then that'll be natural linen. Where the door is, she would like to do vertical. So that will be board and batten, and that'll be vinyl. And then if you go left, another slide. So, okay, so at the top up there, we're gonna do board and batten, which will be vertical. And then we'll have our transition, our trim board that'll go across because the hardy board, we're gonna need a trim board so we can then continue the horizontal underneath it. So it'll be vertical at the top and then horizontal for the remainder of this back wall here, going all the way down. Then that little bump out right next to the door on the right here, that will also get vertical, so it matches the other side of the addition. So both bump outs will be board and batten, so it matches, so that will look nice. And then underneath the windows here on the addition part, she's going to put stone, so that'll be stone going up to the bottom of the windows. And then above that, the rest will be shake. And there's not much area for the shake, so it'll just be literally above the top of the windows and the doors, and then there's just a hair on the sides. If you go to a picture to the left, it kind of shows a larger picture of that. Oh, keep going. Maybe I know yeah, here we go. So yeah, okay, perfect. So board and batten on that right bump out here, and then board and batten on the left bump out here. So those match on either side. And then in the middle, like I said, we're going to do stone underneath the windows. And then we're also going to do shake going up and around the windows and above at top the windows as well. And then all the soffits again, and the trim boards are going to be, our fascia boards are going to be rustic timber. And then you can see over there on the left, that wall that we said earlier, that's going to stay horizontal. And then the remainder of the house is pretty much all horizontal. So if you want to slide, go back to the right. So, go back left, two more. One more. Nope, keep going. Okay, so here, nope, sorry, go back. Okay, so here is going to be horizontal. And then she does want to do board and batten here on the back. I explained to her, I don't think it'd look bad, but there's not much area for you won't see much of a vertical look, I would say, because the garage doors are so large and there's such small wall space. So I've been going back and forth with her on either going horizontal there or doing board and batten. Because if you picture it, you're standing on the back alley here. If you're looking at the house, you'll see board and batten on the front of the garage here. And then also you just see the peak of the main house up there. So it kind of matches if you're looking at it from the alley. So I see where she's going with that. And then if you go to the next slide, no, other way, sorry. One more. Yep, so here, everything is just going to be horizontal. So just as it is now, that'll stay horizontal. That wall there will stay horizontal on the right. The back wall in the addition as well, all stays horizontal, same as it is right now. And then again, all the soffits will be rustic timber and all the walls are going to be natural linen. So everything on this side of the house stays the same. And then let's see if you, I think there, I'm not sure which picture, if there was any pictures left. I think that's pretty much all of them. I think we went through. You want to slide through them all one more time? So this is the beginning. And then, okay, so yeah, that's all the pictures there then. And then it goes into the material, what we're using. That'll be the shake. And then the siding has built-in foam. And then there's just color charts as well. But I separate them just so you could see them easier. Because when you're looking at the house from the street, mostly all you can see is just the front of the house. You can't really even see the right wall at all. The left wall you can see
Got that over to Kyle, right?
just a bit, and the back you can see it all. So, any questions you guys have as far as any concerns on the siding, the style, or placement, color?
What color is the shake again?
The shake is going to be natural linen.
Okay, and alabaster was the color you were describing. Is that a Sherwin-Williams color? Like
Yes,
y'all,
it is.
color? Okay, y'all are gonna paint the batten board and batten siding, um, that alabaster color, which I'm looking at. It looks like it's like a lighter, maybe tan, like it's close to the natural linen.
It's honestly a whitish color.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the trim around the windows on the front elevation and in that bay will be alabaster. Or
No, that'll
rustic
be
timber.
natural linen.
I'm sorry, the trim boards between, if we go to this image, so those trim boards separating the around the windows and that horizontal one, that's going to be natural linen.
I see what you're saying right here. Yeah, no, that's that. So basically, on the front of the house only, it's all going to be the same color with the alabaster.
Okay. The vertical boards above the first floor windows on that bay are still going to just be painted.
I'm sorry, say that again.
The vertical boards above the windows on that bay. So those ones that are currently like vertical, are those going to be painted the alabaster?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the trim is all okay, so the pediments are all rustic timber.
Yes.
And they still maintain their relief, like on the house as it is. There's like the fascia board is out proud, and so one more. Keep going. Another one, the one straight on the front. Yeah, up top, the pediment's up top, so
Yes.
that relief is still going to be there. You're just going to paint.
Correct.
Okay.
Painted alabaster. I mean, I'm sorry, natural linen, because that's where the shake's going.
Oh, that's for the shake screen. Okay.
And then we are getting rid of the trim around those windows, the decorative pieces. And then we're gonna cut hardy board. And then that'll be alabaster and that'll get wrapped around those windows. So it's trimmed out.
Okay. I guess where I'm sitting at, kind of understanding how it's coming together. I think there's a lot going on.
It's a big house.
Yeah, no, I can understand. There's a lot going on between the board and batten in the front, the shake in the front, the horizontal vinyl on the sides and back. I think there's a lot going on. I don't think that it's necessarily a good move to replace that trim around those like oval windows either. I mean, I don't know if those are like kind of historic. I mean, they seem to have sort of a a historic feel to them, I guess. So I don't know that I would necessarily even support that. Um,
Well, it would be pretty, I mean, I don't think we have to cut the hardy board and we have to butt it up to something, and it would be
yeah,
hard to, I don't even know if we could butt it up to that and make it look right. I mean, yeah, I'm not sure, honestly.
no, yeah, I can understand that. I just am not. I wasn't really sure about the history of those. They seem to make a nice feature in the house as it is. And then what is happening with the chimney on the side again?
That's all gonna be shaked from top to bottom,
So the chimney is going to, okay, this chimney is going to be shake as well, and that's going to serve to break up
the wall,
the
right,
wall.
from the hardy to the horizontal, yes.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, but in this image, it looks like it's shown as stone, the same stone that's going to be continuing
So
around the side of the house.
when she rendered it at first, she was gonna go with stone, but the price, with
Yeah,
the
all the
whole
way
house,
up.
the price and the cost of it is just enormous. I mean, the stone cost alone was outrageous. So she switched it to shake, and I mean, it'll look really nice having that separation between the two.
Um, but the shake's going to be painted the same color as the
The
front.
shake is natural linen. It comes, yeah,
Got
it's,
it.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that I agree that that's the best move either. I kind of want to hear what the other committee members have to say. Right now, I think it's very busy, and um, I think there's just a lot of materials at the moment.
I'll jump in here. I agree with Philip. You have, I think, 4 or 5 different materials in different patterns, and I think 4 colors that you're proposing. I don't think,
There's 3 as far as the material goes.
well, you have shake, horizontal, board and batten, and hardy, correct?
Yep.
So
And
that
those are only going to be 2 colors.
Well,
but
and
you
there's
also have a different soffit color and you have a gutter color.
Yes.
I
Oh,
think
yeah,
just
but the gutters included 4 colors.
like as I said last time when you were here, like pick 2 and do them well. And I don't think that in particular the board and batten has any correlation with the existing form of this house, or really many in terms of the context of the neighborhood. It doesn't really make sense in this particular project. Obviously horizontal siding and shake can be used and are compatible with both this form and the neighborhood at large, but that's my recommendation. I would not be able to support the proposal as presented.
So I know the homeowner she wants to kind of chime in on the next meeting because, she's saying there's a bunch of houses along her street that all have vertical siding and shake siding and I mean, and horizontal as well. So, when you say it doesn't match the neighborhood, I know that's one of the complaints she's gonna have.
That's fine. She's welcome to come and share her opinion, but I do think we have to take action today, which means that we have to vote on the presentation. So, my understanding, and Dan can correct me if I'm wrong, is that if we don't approve this proposal, you can move on to landmarks. Though if you come back to this committee, I think it would have to be a different presentation. So, Dan, you can clarify if that's not correct.
Yeah, thank you, Neil. So I guess just a couple things, and I apologize. This one was tabled last time, so we do have to untable it before we, I guess, take any real action. So, could we get that out of the way quickly, and then I'll get to the rest of my background.
What would it take? I mean, like, what is your guys' opinion for this house
Sir,
to look
sir,
like to get a permit?
sir,
Because
If you, sir, could you just hold on while we take care of
Oh,
this
yeah, go ahead.
quick business of untabling it?
Okay, I'll make a motion to untable.
All right.
Second.
Actually, Margaret.
Oh, I
or
can't.
you
Can
can't.
somebody else make a motion?
I'll
to
make a motion.
untable?
So we'll call it Nia's.
This is Nia. I'll make a motion to
All
untable.
right,
A
thank
second.
you. All right, thank you, guys. So Ms. Flaherty,
This is just for untabling?
correct.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Lamb,
Yes,
Ms. Marinucci,
Yes.
and Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
All right, so it's untabled. Unanimous vote on that. Sorry for not getting that out of the way ahead of time. I also did just want to bring up that as far as I can tell, I believe this is a newer home. I guess built in the, I don't know, 80s, 90s, somewhere in there. So it probably always had the original vinyl siding and then, all the trim work and that sort of thing. So I don't think there are any, great features hiding behind the, the soffit trim or anything like that. The other, I guess, clarification I had in the colors, you said it was it's going to be natural linen siding. Are there additional colors to what's shown on this all side chart here that include the natural linen? Is that an available color in the style of siding you're proposing?
I'm sorry, is it natural linen is available as, what was that? I couldn't understand. I didn't hear you.
So you're proposing the all side ascend siding, which is kind of a vinyl composite, in the natural linen.
Natural linen is
pamphlet you
standard
sent
color.
us.
Yes,
Okay. All right, I just wanted to confirm, and that's the 7-inch reveal on this as opposed to like double fours or something, so it'll be a wider horizontal siding.
yes.
Okay. I think those were my kind of clarification questions and then to answer Nia's question, since this was tabled last time, you guys really should take action on it, either a yay or nay vote. Either of those can have conditions attached to them. Any comments you have, I can gladly pass on. So if you want to approve it with, conditions, you can do that. If you want to disapprove it with recommendations, you can also do that. But the next step would be this going to the Cleveland Landmarks Commission meeting on February 22nd. We could get you on the agenda, and then the homeowner would have the opportunity to show up and I guess argue her case along with your presentation if that's something that's of interest. And that's whether this committee votes up or down. You could be on that next agenda.
Yeah, no, I could prove it with conditions.
But yeah, that's for the committee to determine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I am in agreement with what my colleagues said. I think there's too many different kinds of materials. I certainly would support the horizontal siding and the shake. And I would support the change from the hardy to the vinyl, certainly. But I would like to also see the front of the house be horizontal siding. So I guess I would ask, we just have not heard from Ms. Flaherty, but I think understanding so far that at least three of us are in agreement. I guess I'd like to hear from Ms. Flaherty, and then maybe somebody could compose a motion that seems to align with what all of us have said so far.
Yeah, I agree with Margaret's comments. The horizontal siding and the shake aren't an issue for me, but there is a lot going on with materiality and even with color. I think I can't support this as it is right now. I think your presentation could benefit a lot from drawn elevations clearly indicating what's happening where, because it is a bit hard to follow with the pictures. So yeah, those are my comments.
So I guess make a motion to disapprove with the recommendation that the materials and colors be simplified. We maintain the horizontal siding on the front, I believe. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And so what was that? Horizontal siding on the front. I truly can't think of anything else. My mind is going blank right now. Disprove, simplify colors, simplify siding, materials, provide, for the presentation, provide, examples of the street, from the street of houses that might match the style that you're going for. Provide elevations, colored elevations, to make the presentation easier to read. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Can I have a second?
I will second that.
Dan,
Yeah.
can you call the roll?
Sure. If there's no other discussion, Ms. Flaherty,
Yes.
Ms. Land,
Yes.
Ms. Marinucci,
Yes.
and Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
All right, Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously. So yeah, like I said, we have it scheduled for our commission meeting on the 22nd. So we will be reaching out, this afternoon or tomorrow morning to let you know about those details and make sure that you can make it to that. I would just say if you do plan on updating or sort of adding to your presentation, the deadline for submissions for the commission meeting is 5 o'clock today. So yeah, reach out if you think that's going to be a problem, and otherwise we will be in touch this afternoon or tomorrow.
You said the deadline's 5 o'clock today.
Yeah. Yeah, but if you think you're gonna have trouble making it, just give us a call and we can see what we can do.
Yeah, if there's anything to do, because I mean, I would at least.
Okay, we can talk offline about that. So yeah, just give a call to our offices, or I may be reaching out this afternoon. So either way, we'll touch base.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
With that, our next agenda item is case OC 24-05, 4517 Lorraine Avenue. They're coming for storefront renovation. I believe they're utilizing the city's storefront renovation program and getting federal historic tax credits. And I think they've applied for state historic tax credits, but maybe Lucas from AODK can answer all that in his presentation. So Lucas, your presentation is up. Just let me know when you want me to switch through slides.
Sure. Thanks for the introduction. And just to knock that question right out of the park off the get-go is we've been conditionally approved at the federal and state level for historic tax credits. They're just kind of finishing up the paperwork now, and we'll be working through that, but we have a conditional approval on that side. We've also been coordinating with the storefront program, Tim Barrett and Terry Sandy, and the general feedback is, as long as we're abiding by the state and federal conditions, that we will be qualifying for that program as well. So if you can go to the second slide, please. This is an aerial view from Google of the property, 4517 Lorraine Avenue. It's an existing two-story structure with the adjacent parking lot that you can see to the left of the building. Next slide, please. Here is a survey of that parcel showing the two-story building on the right and the mentioned parking lot to the left. Next slide, please. This has already received a demo permit, and kind of the interiors have been gutted for this client. So the current permit that we're pursuing is for the renovation of the building, and that would include the storefront renovation as mentioned. So these are just some demolition plans with some of the remaining infrastructure, stairs and stuff that would need to go. And as you can see, also showing the existing what's left of the storefront to come out so that the new storefront can go in. Next slide, please. The second story is pretty much wide open as is, and we'll be creating a new set of stairs that go up for a future tenant in that second story space. And there's already a new roof on the building, so not much work to be done on the roof. Next slide, please. Here are the proposed floor plans for the renovation. Essentially, what the owner is hoping to do is create 4 tenant spaces on the ground floor. The front main tenant space that'll utilize the new storefront is Guitar Riot, which is a guitar retail and accessory store. So that is the majority of the square footage is a new space for that entity. And then there's 3 smaller tenant entities in the back. There is a custom guitar repair shop, a amp repair shop, and a guitar lesson space. All 3 of those are separate tenants outside of Guitar Riot, but all kind of work together and are really looking forward to utilizing this ground floor as kind of a new ecosystem for the Guitar Riot environment. And we're also, as you can see, creating a new side entry door in the side of the building that's been discussed thoroughly with the SHPO, the state and federal levels for their approval, but a new storefront entryway to get into a common center entry. That'll also lead you up a new set of stairs to the second floor, which is open right now for future tenants. And that side entry also gives you access to a center hall that gets you to the smaller tenants as well. And then in the basement, we're just kind of keeping it wide open for storage for those tenants. If you don't mind going to the next slide, I'll briefly touch on the second floor. So we're trying to keep this as open as possible. Like I said, the tenants are still TBD. So the owner wants some flexibility there. We're just showing enough new bathrooms and egress stairs to get a building permit. And then as he starts to market this space, it could be all one open tenant or potentially split the space in half for 2 tenants, just depending on what he finds. And then the roof plan is showing the 3 proposed RTUs that'll be providing the HVAC for this renovated building. Next slide, please. These are the elevations that we put together for our state and federal level review. So this is showing some of the existing conditions. Most notably the front, there's really nice masonry work that we've had both Kuhn Restoration and a couple other specialists take a look at for both pricing and their recommendations on how to refurbish the front. They think a lot of it is still in really good shape and can be maintained. There'll just be a couple areas where a couple pieces of masonry need to be popped off and reset just because of weathering and wear and tear. But for the most part, it'll remain the existing masonry. And what these existing elevations are also showing is the general layout of the remaining storefront that's there and some of the attached conditions. There is an existing blade sign that we're hoping to refurbish. There is an existing gate attached to the side that kind of lines the perimeter of the parking lot. And then below the front, you're seeing the existing side of the building. There used to be, what you're seeing here is the side-mounted HVAC units. Those have since been removed as part of the original demolition. And there's a fair amount of graffiti. And then I'm not sure who, but somebody had come in and covered up old graffiti with brown paint. And then graffiti has since been tagged on top of that. So we are working with the masonry specialist to bring the brick back to its natural state, which that's also in line with what the state and federal reviewers would like to see as well. And then there'd be some tuck pointing as well. But if you go to the next slide, that'll show our proposed renovation here. So like I said, all of the existing masonry is to remain, just be clean and sealed um, per the masonry specialist recommendations and also per SHPO's recommendations. On the front, you're seeing the new storefront, which maintains the existing or the historic layout of the storefront system, just in a new aluminum system, and similar with the second floor windows, replacing those windows with historically accurate double hungs, but these will be aluminum and approved by SHPO as well. As I'd mentioned, we're hoping to utilize the existing blade sign. That'll have to come before you guys when the tenants are all set and a sign manufacturer has been contracted. They'll come and present that to you, but just the concept that we are hoping to maintain the blade sign, the existing historic blade sign, the SHPO reviewers seem to like that as well. And then on the side, like I said, maintaining the existing brick, cleaning it up, sealing it, tuck pointing it, and proposing a new side entry into that shared vestibule. Also proposing 3 transom windows up high into those new tenant spaces in the back, just to allow some daylight into there. Next slide, please. This is a sheet that was formatted for the SHPO reviewer, but if you go to the next few slides, I go through each of these images individually. This is a historic image that was, I think, supplied to us actually by Tim Barrett at the storefront renovation. So this is from 1954, I believe. The original use of the building was a furniture outlet. So this is just kind of showing the historic layout of the storefront that we will be replicating, so that you're noticing the 2 large panels at the pedestrian level, and then above that there'd be 4 transom panels, and we'll be maintaining the same thicknesses and styles, just in a new aluminum storefront system. And similarly with the second story windows, new aluminum double hungs that'll be replicate this existing look. Next slide, please. This is just an existing image of the front of the building. So the storefront's been boarded up. Most of the glass is broken. Most of the wood is rotted, but as you can see, the masonry work is still in really good condition. There is, I had mentioned, just a portion on the right side, just above the storefront, where some of the masonry units seem to have protruded out from the face. So the masonry specialist, whichever one is contracted here, would remove those, take a look. We're going to have our structural engineer confirm that the steel lintel behind that is in good shape, and then they'd be put back in place. But everything should be the existing units, just nothing new here as far as masonry goes. If you go to the next slide. This is the existing entryway. The owner is hoping to maintain this cool mosaic tile at the entryway. So we'll be working with a tile or restoration specialist as far as that goes, to retrim the front of that so no further damage is done, and refurbish and clean and seal this existing tile work. Next slide, please. Just some images of the side of the building. This is an older image where the side mounted units are still there. Those, like I mentioned, have since been removed, and there's holes where they project into the building. So those holes will be filled in with matching or salvaged brick, tuck pointed and cleaned and sealed per the masonry specialist recommendations. This also shows you that blade sign that we're hoping to refurbish. Next slide, please. Just some images towards the back of the building and of the existing parking lot. Next slide, please. And then this is the back of the building. So this building actually butts up against the adjacent building, which isn't part of this property. So they do have their own demising walls in between them, but essentially this particular building only has 3 exposed sides to the public. On the back here, we are hoping to open up. So there's 2 windows that you're seeing that have wood covering. That wood will be removed, and windows that replicate the original kind of factory style windows will be replaced. And then the one that has been bricked in that you're seeing on the right, that infill brick will be removed, and there'll be a 3rd matching window there. The door on the ground floor will be utilized as a back exit and shipping entry and exit. And then the door on the 2nd floor that was once a fire exit, that won't be needed any longer. That'll be infilled with matching brick. Next slide, please. Just an image of the interior of the storefront. So again, just we will be using this exact same layout. It'll just be a new storefront system. So the two larger panels on the bottom, that'll be nice for bringing in daylight and displaying merchandise, and then the four transom panels on each side, and then that same motif kind of translates in towards the entry vestibule as well. Next slide, please. And then this is just an image of the wide open second floor space. These windows will be replaced, as mentioned, for historically accurate aluminum replacements. And then the floors will be refinished. The ceiling will have to be, new drywall will have to be put on the ceiling per SHPO's recommendations. So that'll go in, but that'll all be part of the second floor tenant fit out. Next slide, please. This is an image from the inside describing those back windows. So no glass, or very little glass is left in these. They're pretty much trash, but this at least gives you the idea of the original factory style window. The new windows will match this exact style. It'll also have that kind of center square that you're seeing. That's the vent that can open up in an awning style to provide some fresh air. Next slide, please. And then these are just some the latest renderings that we put together, both in coordination with SHPO and also with the Guitar Riot tenants. So like I had mentioned, the front will be basically just a newer version of what's existing. We really think it's a nice historic layout, and we'll just be replacing the storefront system to be new, energy efficient, lit in lots of daylight, but the historic layout will remain. And this is the request of SHPO as well. If you keep going, there's just a couple angles. We can kind of go through these. I have a couple renderings, and then I think there's actually some of the interior tenant improvements for Guitar Riot as well. There you can see the side entryway that we're proposing. It'll have a little awning. And then some interior of the tenant improvements for Guitar Riot. And just kind of a blank canvas. This will be, of the second floor for a future tenant. Lastly, I just wanted to include kind of the latest documents we've received from the federal and state level, just kind of as proof of our coordination. And I think this is the part, what they call the part 2 and part 3 form. This includes a bit of narrative that was part of our conditional approval. You can go ahead to the next slide. Yeah, there's some of the narrative that they've included. And then the last slide should be a letter from the city's storefront rebate program that we used in our application to the state and federal level. Just a kind of a general statement that we've applied, and then we plan to carry through with this program, this rebate program. So thank you for your time. Open to any questions or thoughts. Thank you.
I think this is lovely. I appreciate the thoroughness of this. It's very straightforward, very in keeping with the historic architecture. I even think like the new openings, it's very sensitive. My one concern is the amount of cleaning that may be required on the brick that has all the graffiti. And I guess as you move forward, exploring what the options are, kind of weighing maybe something that's less than perfect, but also slightly less invasive, or, to the brick. Some of those cleaners can be quite harsh and weaken the brick. So I think it's going to be striking the balance between getting it as clean as possible, but with something that's also fairly gentle.
Absolutely, that's a great point. And
Yeah.
the state and federal level actually supply our whichever masonry contractor we decide to move forward with. They kind of give them a a list of procedures, starting with the least invasive, like try this first, then try this, and you know, the last possible option for them is a chemical that's still, I guess, from what my understanding, not as invasive as somebody would like to clean it, but to your point, you know, start with the least invasive procedure
Right.
and work your way up to hopefully get to a point where it's clean.
Yes, and I know I've seen SHPO approve things too that still have some remnants of graffiti, paint, etc. In an effort to maintain the life of the brick.
Yeah,
So I just that would be my only thing, but otherwise great.
thank you.
To echo Margaret's comments, I appreciate the really thorough presentation, and the design seems very sensitive. Obviously, we're working with SHPO and send up that way. So I don't have any objections to this on my end.
Thank you.
I agree with my colleagues. I just have one clarification. Is the blade sign as presented part of this approval, or are we going to see, or will the Landmarks Office see a separate application for the blade sign?
Yeah, I will say that this is definitely not the design of the sign that'll come before you guys with this was purely a placeholder. What we are working with SHPO on is and they seem to be not only on board with it, but encouraging just maintaining the blade sign with obviously a new design. But it will not read like this. Essentially, a sign manufacturer, once the tenants have been established, will come up with a design and have to come before you guys, I assume, to get approval for the refurbishment of the sign.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
So if I could, oh, sorry, go ahead, Phil. I was just gonna follow up on a signage question, but you go ahead.
I really didn't have much to contribute. I just had one question. Were the windows on the second floor, were those like originally wood, or I know you said you're replacing them with aluminum?
Yeah, I believe they are currently wood. They're just in poor shape. So what we've worked with SHPO on is they have I believe it's Quaker is the manufacturer. I have
Yeah.
to double check on that. They have an approved aluminum version of this same look.
Okay. Yep, that's all I had.
If I could just jump in for a second, I apologize. So yeah, you kind of cleared it up, I guess, answered Nia's question about the signage. But so you said SHPO is encouraging you to reutilize the existing cabinet? Is that?
I think they want to make sure that the original blade sign itself, just kind of making sure that I don't know if they're insisting that the cabinet remain, but just the fact that its location, its size, stuff like that, that we're not trying to take it down and do something different as far as its general location and size is what they were encouraging us to consider.
Okay.
I don't know how much of the actual infrastructure they want us to maintain.
Gotcha. I would just chime in, and I don't know if the committee feels any differently, but to me that the placement of the sign is great. It's perfect. It's a bit oversized. I remember when it was installed, which is probably almost 20 years ago, and it's like feels way too close to the ground when you're walking under it. It's just, I think it was one of those ones that got approved, and when it was installed, it was about 50% larger than everyone was expecting. So I guess I can pull data on that if you want and try and find the original approval and when that was done, that sort of thing. If you need to demonstrate to the SHPO that it's a more modern intrusion onto the building. I mean, it's clearly not here in 1954, but at this point, I guess we're into the 70s is 50 years. So I don't know how I feel about that, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, I can pull some evidence of when that went up if that's helpful to you. And the other thing it's more of a curiosity. Has the SHPO, did they push back at all on the removal of that interior vestibule? How the storefront, windows originally went much further back into the building. You can see it in one of these images I got. Yeah, here. Like this was all originally display space, and then your front door was here, and they moved the entrance up to there. They're fine with you basically cutting all this out of the interior?
No, we're hoping to utilize all that. So our new proposal will have that same exact vestibule. It'll have new
Okay.
doors, obviously, and the windows will remain on the side, but we do want to maintain that vestibule.
Okay, it just, yeah, that was just a curiosity thing. Still trying to figure out some of the SHPO, you know, try and get a read on them sometimes, but
Yeah, it's tough, right? When you think you got an understanding, they switch it up on you. But
yes, exactly. All right, thank you all. That's all I have.
So maybe make a motion to approve.
Second, somebody? Did we hear that?
I'll second.
Alrighty, with that, unless there's other questions or comments, we'll move to the roll call. Ms. Fiery,
Yes.
Ms. Lamb,
Yes.
Ms. Marinucci,
Yes.
and Mr. Talley.
Yes.
All right, Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously. Lucas, we can talk offline, but given that it's going through storefront and getting all those other things, I think we'll probably handle this administratively from this point on, since the committee had no concerns or questions. So, like, not no questions, but no concerns or hesitations. So, thank you, and I'll email you out confirmation about next details later today or tomorrow morning.
great. Thanks for your time, everyone.
Thank you. All right. Now moving on to case OC 24-06, 4329 Lorraine Avenue. This is for, I guess, additional signage as the Sherwin-Williams, they have some signage up. They're looking to, I guess, swap it out with some different signage, and since the size changes slightly, we're still waiting to hear back from our zoning folks if that'll trigger the need for a signage variance if they're over their square footage. So that doesn't necessarily impact what you guys do here, other than, maybe if you're going to approve it, work into a motion that you have support for any required variances. But the variance question will really depend, it'll come down to whether it needs to go to landmarks to get that variance, or if, we can just handle it administratively. So, with all that, do we have someone here representing the Sherwin-Williams signage project?
Yes, my name is David Mack. I'm with Brady Signs, and we are representing this application today.
Yeah, great. If you just want to walk through the presentation, let me know, and you want me to advance the slides.
Yeah, sure. As you had mentioned, first off, thank you for hearing this out today. Basically, the scope of work that is being requested here is a signage change just on Lorraine Avenue. And basically what we're looking to do is take down the existing Sherwin-Williams illuminated channel lit signage with a backer and replacing it with updated wording that says Pinturus Sherwin-Williams on it. Something important to note here that nothing is being proposed to change on the elevation that has signage as well on West 44th Street. So this aerial shot here is just a site plan for illustration purposes. If you can go to the next slide, please. Here's another one with just a 3D view that shows basically the buildings on a corner with 44th Street and Lorraine, the intersection. Next slide, please. Here is a art rendering that basically shows the proposed signage change. The only change really is the basically the width of the sign is being increased to add the additional wording that Sherwin-Williams feels is important for this location. It also gives the spec of the sign that it's an illuminated sign. It's basically going on a backer panel that should recreate the same look as the other sign that's currently installed on 44th Street. Next slide, please. Here's a illustration of what the existing sign looks. This is at the corner of 44th and Lorraine. You could see where it says Sherwin-Williams on the right. That represents the elevation that faces 44th Street. As I mentioned earlier, that signage is not changing. The proposed change is in the photo on the left that you see that's facing Lorraine Avenue. That is the sign that we are looking to take down and install a new sign. Next slide, please. Here's another illustration that shows what I was talking about on the previous slide. Something too to note on this, nothing is changing with the Sherwin-Williams blade sign, Cover the Earth, that you can see on the left side facing Lorraine Avenue. Next slide, please. Here's another rendering that shows the scope of the work here that outlines the dimension of the sign. That includes the specs for the letters, the colors. As I mentioned earlier, it is an illuminated sign. Next slide, please.
That seems to be all we have.
Oh, okay.
As far as
All right.
presentation goes.
Yep. So basically, that's the scope of work that we're outlining here. Welcome any questions or comments or feedback from the group. Thank you.
I'll start. I think it's great, and I love that we are being inclusive with our signage in the neighborhood. So no other comments for me.
Thank you.
I agree. Thank you for the clear presentation, and I don't have any objections on my end.
Thank you.
This is easy to support. Sounds like most of us are in agreement. Philip, anything? Okay.
No, I'm good to go. Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
A race. We'll have to do rock, paper, scissors for that later. All right, so Ms. Flaherty? Ms. Lamb?
Yes.
Ms. Marinucci?
Yes.
And Mr. Talley?
Yes.
Madam Chair, the motion passes unanimously. Yeah, this is this, as I explained before, I'll be in touch with you, David, and it really will come down to whether this needs a zoning variance for the size, if, you know, this puts you over the square footage or not. If not, I'll just handle this administratively, but I will be in touch when I get an answer to that question. So thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Appreciate it.
All right, with that, we move on to our final case today, which is case OC 24-07, 1797 West 31st Place. We're looking at this as a concept today. I believe we have the homeowner here, Ms. Freitas.
Yes.
Freitas, okay. So she's going to walk us through, you know, what she's proposing. Again, this is concept, so just so Ms. Freitas is where we won't be taking a vote. You know, just be getting feedback from this committee, and then you'll go on to the Landmarks Commission, get feedback from them. And then when you're ready to make your final presentation, you'll come back to this committee for a final approval. So with that, I've got your slides up on the screen, so just let me know when you want me to advance to the next one.
Sure, thank you. So as he said, I'm here with my husband, John, as the homeowners of this property. And what we are aiming to do is going to touch almost everything on the envelope. And that's why we're coming with the concept first, to see if we're doing anything that's really in the wrong direction. Going top to bottom in the project, we're looking to replace the asphalt shingle roof with standing seam metal roof, in the hope of having it be easier to maintain as we age in place here. We've been in the house since '94. The roof has held up, but it's definitely time for a replacement. In the process of doing that, we're hoping to introduce cool vent that will hopefully help to cool the second story of the house better. We've had other interventions like zone air conditioning that have had only minimal help. And so we're looking for other ways to cool the upstairs of the house and hoping this would do it. But it would raise the profile of the roof by about 5 inches. So that's one of our significant questions. Is that too much of a change to do that? We also want to replace we need to tear off the clapboard siding. The guy that we bought the house from had chosen not to use a house wrap, and that has meant a lot of repainting, and so we want to fix that problem by taking off the clapboard siding, wrapping the house with Tyvek, and then when we replace it with hardy board or composite instead of with the very lightweight wood siding that it has right now on most of the house. We need major window work. He used a wooden window, but it was rather low end. So most of the windows that you see in these pictures would need to be replaced. We have had to put up storm windows that we'd really like to get rid of for the double hung windows. And we'd like to also change, you can see in the second story, there's small casement windows. When we built the addition that you really can't see in these pictures that goes on the back of the house, we used awning windows instead and have been very happy with those. So if we can find an awning window that closely resembles the 2-pane casement windows, we prefer that. And then the other major window issue is that on the north side of the house, you can see there is a Gothic window on the second story. That's the only historic element that you can actually see. You know, when he redid the house, it was stripped to the studs inside and out. And so we have worked pretty hard to try to preserve that window, but it is in very, very bad shape. And so we even went, because we love that window so much, we even went to the extent of where you see on the west photo of the house, the street front, that there's another Gothic window. We had that one custom built about 15 years ago to replace a standard rectangular double hung window, just to refer to that historic element that's on the north side. But that window also has not been able to, it has a lot of rot, very similar to the one on the north side. So what we're hoping to do there is to get a window expert to do something to stabilize both of those, but then put custom storm windows over both of those windows. Neither one of them, although you can raise each sash on the historic one, but we can't right now because we had to put a piece of plexiglass on the inside of the house just to keep the wind from blowing completely through our house. So neither one of them will function as a raise and lower window, but at least we would, if we get a storm window fitted to it, it might help to preserve the shape and the look. Then I mentioned that we were going to be replacing the siding. Hopefully we can replace it with hardy board, and same on the trim. We want a composite or a PVC type trim to replace the wooden trim. Almost everything that you can see, possibly the porch pillars are probably going to have to stay wood. We want to use the same palette Right now, it's in the Sherwin-Williams preservation palette. Downing straw is the main color, and downing earth is one of the trim, is the primary trim, and then rookwood dark brown is the secondary trim. One thing that's missing from this set of pictures is the garage. We built a garage in 1995 that's set back from the street. And if you go, let's go through the elevations and the descriptions. So why don't you go to the next slide? Yeah, this verbally describes pretty much everything I've just said, I believe. Go to the next one. That's showing you where we are. Obviously, we have no front yard. We're set right on West 31st Street. This used to be the last house on West 31st before it was cut all the way through. And so that the north face was the original front of the house. I just want to point out while we're still on this slide, because we're going to talk about the metal roof, that in this, you can see in this picture, the house directly behind us on Fulton is one of the houses in the neighborhood that has a metal roof. One of the other houses is on the same side of the street as us, but at the north end. We're close to the south end. And the other one that we put in our pictures is around the corner on West 30th. Go to the next one. So this is an elevation of what the front of the house would look like with the metal roof replaced, and the indicator that we're not planning to replace the custom window that we had built. Next slide. This is the south elevation from our driveway. It shows the addition that we built in 1999 with the awning windows. Next one. This is the rear of the house. I don't know how much you're interested in all of that. This is primarily for when we're getting our estimates done. Next. And then this is the north elevation with the indicator that we don't want to replace the historic window. Next. And then this is garage. The main thing that we would be doing, we want the garage to coordinate with the house. So we're hoping to replace the siding on it as well and the roof. The main structural difference is, and I forgot to include a photo of this, is just that the existing garage has no overhang on front or back. And that has, not only does it look not, it doesn't coordinate with the historic house as well, but it also has led to some water damage to the trim around the doors that we've had to work on. So we want to extend the eaves at both the front and the back 10 inches so that we have an overhang that looks a little bit better with the house. Next, if there is a next. Oh yeah, this is primarily for the, again, for the contractors as we try to get estimates to show them what we had in mind for lifting the roof a little bit and putting in the cool vent before putting the standing seam metal roof on. And is there another slide? For certain, yeah, it's just more detail of how to do that. Finally, the last slide is just showing, I think my understanding was that the metal roof might be our biggest obstacle. And I just wanted to point out that there are several homes in our very immediate neighborhood that do have metal roofs. I don't know what the historic original roof would have been, but I'm guessing it wasn't asphalt shingle. So we're hoping that that doesn't become too big of a barrier to the project. But I definitely welcome your insight and ideas or questions about what we're aiming to do here. I think that's everything.
I can start. First, thank you so much for your stewardship to this property. Walk past it all the time and have always admired what a beautiful home and like how well maintained it is. So thank you. And also can appreciate and understand your needs as you move forward with this renovation. I will defer to staff or Margaret, those who have more knowledge in terms of the appropriateness of a metal roof on this property. Um, yeah, that's been a contentious question in the past, though it does, of course, vary project by project. So I will defer any comments on that at the moment. Have you guys worked with an architect on this to work on these details?
We have worked, no, we have not had an architect. We have a good friend who's a contractor who had some experience in the design review in Detroit Shoreway, and he drew up our drawings for us.
Okay, Dan, can you go to the detail sheet? I'm a restoration architect, so this is, I'm very like interested in how you guys are choosing to detail it. There are different ways, of course, to kind of address the issues that you're presenting. And I think, I haven't seen, I guess, the issues that you're describing up close on your particular property. Though there's potentially ways to do it without building up the roof quite this much. There's different methodologies. So if that is a point that, it's kind of hard for me to visualize what impact that may have on the roof line. But I think there are other methods if you were open to exploring different details to kind of achieve the same, issues to rectify the issues that you're having in terms of your heat loss and or was it keeping it cool? Like you have a heat and cooling issue, right?
Yeah, it's primarily been the cooling, and when we did the addition in 1999, one of the remedial things we attempted was we asked them to split the roof to try to make a little bit of a ridge vent, and we didn't detect any help at all that did. They didn't do it the full length of it. They did it in, I think, 3 locations, and they just overlaid the shingles to try to let a little air out. We didn't notice any improvement there.
Do you have forced cooling throughout the house, including?
We do, and that was another major thing that we did to attempt was that we had forced cooling, and it wasn't getting the upstairs cooled, and so we installed zone control, and we pushed all of the cooling to the 2nd story and none in the downstairs. And that is still not really fixing the problem. We don't have really any attic at all. So there's not much place to put in any kind of attic fan or anything like that. It's you can't get into any attic. It's just the peak that has like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you're open to potentially other options, I think there are if you want to look into closed cell spray foam, that would then, you might be having an air barrier issue where your airflow, you're having an air containment issue. There's obviously, you can mitigate that with the vented roof operation. You can also go the other way and create what would be called, I believe, like a warm roof with a metal roof that is a fully, like it's a sealed up detail. It's what I favor for historic restoration work with this issue. Again, it's obviously up to you. And this is a very clear detail. There's just other ways to do it that I'm wondering, I don't want you to do the work and then still have the issue, which just may resolve it. The other thought I had, and again, this is pretty technical, the issues you're describing with your wood windows, and also when we add exterior layers to the building, is properly detailing those windows. So you have an existing window condition that are remaining. So some of the windows are remaining, if I'm interpreting your drawings correctly. And then you also have historic wood windows that you've clearly been trying to maintain, to keep. And then you have some of these new windows that will be new installations, correct?
All of the only existing windows that would remain are the ones that were built in the 1999 edition.
And are those,
So-
is that portion of the house getting rewrapped or just the front part?
That portion of the house, we had originally thought, since it's not really causing us a problem, because we did have a wrap on it, it has cedar siding right now.
Mhm.
We would, just for the sake of having everything matched, we were assuming that we would do everything, we'd replace everything with hardy board.
Mhm.
It is an area where we would, like, if the price gets too prohibitive, it's possible that we would leave the addition with just the cedar siding that it's got on it, and, you know,
Okay.
make sure that it matches in width and color to the rest of the house.
Got it. Okay, I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to if you do end up needing to value engineer and keeping the cedar. I think that that's more than appropriate. I think more what I'm not seeing in these details and would encourage you to have, you know, your builder pursue is how those windows are being addressed, especially when you're adding depth to the exterior of the facade, and making sure that those are flashing and draining appropriately, so you're not exacerbating deterioration of the wood. That could be an issue, especially if the previous homeowner did not use house wrap. That could be an indication that they don't know how layers are supposed to interact in a building envelope. And you have envelope issues throughout. So I guess I'm not opposed to what you're presenting, especially the reason being house wrap. When I first saw this come through, I thought that you have a great a beautifully maintained property, and I was struggling to see why replacement would be required, but that is a good reason, I think, to consider it in this case. Again, I don't think I'm thrilled with the buildup of the roof. I'll defer to my colleagues on the materiality of the roof, but and if they have any thoughts on that as well. That's all for me for now.
I will chime in and say, typically in our area of the country, original material on this age of a house would have been a slate roof. Or possibly wood shake, but more typically slate. Personally, I am not a fan of the metal roof because of that history as a replacement. But I have seen the request pass both design review and landmarks. And I don't know that it would be that I would, you know, vote against the whole project just because of that element. I think that plus changing the roof line with the 5 inches, then maybe that is too much of a change. And I agree with what Nia's saying, maybe exploring some other issues or some other ways to resolve the issue. Or at the very least, when it comes for approval, having a good elevation drawing that depicts how that change is going to look. As far as the rest of what's proposed, I can definitely get behind everything. Just a reminder with the hardy board replacement, we typically prefer the smooth finish rather than the one that looks like wood grain. And again, I would just be specific with the materials that are proposed for the trim. Something that is more aligned with the composite and less PVC would be a preferable material. Anyone else want to give some feedback?
I think I'm just echoing what was previously expressed. I'm probably even less opposed to the metal roof, but again, as was just said, that combined with raising the roof, need to see how that lays out. And then and I guess there is another moment on that front elevation where you have that the lower roofs, the porch roof, and that bay roof where we see the metal roof like straight on, and I could see that presenting a problem in the future. Again, I'm less opposed to it, but that's really all I had. Oh, also, this has been a great presentation. Thank you.
Yes.
That's the entire thing altogether has actually been very well put together, very convincing. It sounds like it's been a learning experience for you guys, and I just appreciate the amount of work that went into it.
I agree with what Philip just said about the presentation. And one other thought that came to mind is as you're exploring what needs to be done to repair and then maintain the arched windows, I highly recommend storm windows through Allied, ALLIED. They're in Cincinnati, but you can either work through your contractor, you can do it yourself, or I think that they have someone that works in the area, but they can do some really beautiful custom storms that are thin. And they're kind of like the Cadillac of storm windows, and they are used to working on very historic properties. So I suggest that brand.
Well, we're delighted to get even one suggestion for a any contractor, because this has been our biggest challenge so far, is that we were hoping to get a general contractor because it's kind of a big project for us to put on, pull off all by ourselves. But finding contractors has been a real challenge.
Yeah, that's certainly the case, I think everywhere these days.
Yeah.
Start with the committee, if I could just jump in on with my 2 cents on the roof question. I just wanted to, I guess, kind of reiterate what Margaret said regarding the appropriateness of metal roof. Typically that type of material was more of a country material. Here in the urban areas, we had access to slate. Even splitting shake was easy enough, but we had railroads, we could bring all that in. The metal roofing was much more of a kind of country utility product. Jim, your house is so lovely. I could totally picture it with a metal roof, and I think it would look, great. It's just not appropriate per the Secretary of the Interior standards. Put it in a little, lakeside type community, like, one of those little Chautauqua type things, and boom, metal roof appropriate, but here in the city, not so much. So, I guess with that feedback from the committee and staff, you're welcome to still pursue that. It sounds like there is a strong kind of feeling that some other options as far as raising the roof and getting that insulation and venting, would be a good idea. But when we'll get you on the schedule for the design review or the landmarks commission meeting on the 22nd. You can get feedback from them too, see how they feel about the metal roof, raising the roof, some of those, issues that came up today. We'll provide a staff overview of what was discussed here. And then, after you have all that feedback from both the committee and the commission, you can make your decisions on what you want to present for your final project. With staff always available to bounce ideas off of and have discussions with. But yeah, so I guess I don't know. I'm make it sound like we're done talking, but I don't know if anyone has anything else to say. Do you guys feel like you've gotten good feedback, like enough to kind of go on? You got a feel for what?
Yeah, definitely.
committee-
I think
Okay.
that, there was that chance that you were going to say no way at all, but this gives us more to discuss, my husband and I, to discuss as we move forward. So yeah, it'll be good to hear what Landmarks has to say.
There
just
is
have-
metal shake roof too.
Oh yeah, good point.
I have no
Yeah,
idea about like cost comparison and all that, but
Yeah.
it is an option.
We have an idea and
Okay.
we can't do it. So
Okay.
Gotcha. Just one other thing I was curious, you had mentioned the house being rehab, not wrapped previously. Is all the siding that we're seeing, is that modern? Is that newer siding that just isn't
Yeah,
aging well?
everything that you can see except the North Gothic window, it
Okay.
was replaced in between 1990 and 1992. It was
Wow.
a very, very young guy, recent college graduate, first project. And overall, he did a pretty good job, but he was, he had strong opinions about the need of the house to breathe. And he didn't think that Tyvek was a good idea, so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Laura,
they used to breathe better when they.
they used to breathe better before we had modern HVAC systems. So that converting what would have been a completely breathable balloon framed home to a modern to our current modern comfort is a very involved process. So, and you're kind of working with something that's been half done, half not. So I think I would encourage you to look a little bit more into the insulation strategy as well, because I think that that could be contributing very largely to your heat and your temperature control on your second floor, maybe even more so. There are details that could be worked through there, regardless of roofing material or for any roofing material that would, I think, enhance this if you were open to that. And Dan, if you, I have a couple of specific like carpenters and craftspeople that we've worked with that I can pass along if you would like to facilitate or give them my email, whatever it is appropriate.
Same.
Excellent. Any leads we can get, we will follow up, so.
Okay, great. Yeah,
All right.
if you guys wouldn't mind emailing me those, I can add what names I have if they're different from yours and get those over to Ms. Freitas. All right, with that, I guess we'll be in touch about the meeting on the 22nd. That'll be at 9 o'clock. It's a hybrid meeting, so you can come here in person to Cleveland City Hall or be virtual online. So I will get you details about that as we move forward. But otherwise, thanks for a great presentation, and as I think was mentioned, thanks for being such a good caretaker of this lovely home.
Well, thank you very much. Great.
All right. With that, that is our last agenda item. Since there's no action taken on that, we're good. So, Margaret, I guess as far as administrative report goes, before we adjourn, I think each of you committee members should have gotten an email. I guess there's only two of you left here. An email from Director Wong yesterday about just sort of the design review process and some changes that are coming. I'm going to be doing a follow-up email to just the landmarks design review because that was meant for landmarks and planning. But the long and short of it is for this committee, the geography might expand a bit. So we're going to pick up some individually designated local landmark reviews that, the ones that kind of make sense because they feel like they're surrounding the historic district here, but we'll be going down but south of the highway, I think, if one can believe it. So yeah, but the long and short of it is if you guys could just shoot your resumes over to our office so that we know that you're still interested. We're just asking everybody who's on a committee currently to submit resumes, and then we'll kind of formalize the appointments by the Landmarks Commission, because in the past it wasn't clear when people were appointed and that sort of thing. So we want to clean some of that up, that fun administrative stuff. But, yeah, that's all I have. So Margaret, unless you have a long prepared speech or just want to go off the cuff.
No, I think we did good today, and I'm ready to close the meeting. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.